Morning.
Morning. Hello, Debbie. Are you there?
Hiya.
Hi.
You all right? Yeah.
Fine. Yeah, we're fine.
We'll start in a moment. Sorry.
If you can get to see that film.
Yes, yeah, it looks very good.
It was really good.
Yeah, I don't think we
I can only do the first half, Rabbi, because I'm off to art class.
Sorry?
So I said I can only do the first half because I'm off out at 10 o'clock.
All right. When Pam and Julian going? They've gone.
This morning. Yeah.
Right. So they won't be going.
Irises are gone as well.
Iris is away as well. Okay. We'll see who else comes on.
Yeah.
But it shows, I didn't realise, I don't know whether, I think he has Jewish blood in him.
Who?
And we went to see Bob Marley, the film.
Oh, right.
Now, he was part of the Rastafarian group, and they are very close to Judaism. It's almost like they're like the lost tribe. Yeah,
they have a whole thing about that, I think.
Yeah, it was just an amazing film.
Yeah.
It was really cool. And his father was a Syrian Jew.
We'll have to find out if it's on next week. I'll be a bit busy this week. Let's go next Sunday.
What's it called? One Life. What is it?
One Love.
One Love.
Right.
And he was obviously in later years, once he died, he was born before his time. He was such a radical when it came to, he just wanted the peace and Jamaica resolved as one country. But the Jewish roots and Rita, his wife, wore a kamaya, a solid gold kamaya the whole time.
Right.
A lot of black people do wear
well, that's what I mean. They're very similar. They study the Bible, they study the Old Testament, not the New. It was just eye-opening.
Mm-hmm.
Apart from the music, which is brilliant.
I was going to say, presume they had some good music as well.
Oh, brilliant music. I mean, I've always loved his music. It's very meaningful.
Me too.
Right.
Have both of us on.
Okay, we'll start in a minute. I'll just see if anyone else comes on.
Bam and Julie have gone to Israel.
Iris has gone to Malaysia.
Yeah.
Iris has gone to Sri Lanka. Is it
who?
Iris?
No, Malaysia.
No, Malaysia.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Beryl usually comes on, but I don't remember what time. Lisa sometimes comes on. Okay, well, we'll start. So we're talking about things that involve building. So the last couple we talked about was, what's the difference between temporary and permanent? Right. So we said something's intended to be temporary, like the Mishkan itself, or a tent, or putting, like we said, putting a board over a window or something. Although it might have you say, oh, it's temporary, it's not permanent. A sukkah's temporary, it's not permanent, but it has potential to be permanent if you leave it up. So we said that basically counts as being strong enough to be something you shouldn't do on Shabbos. What would be properly temporary would be something like, we said, a door, right? What's the difference between closing a door and nailing a board around an opening? They both seal the opening. In fact, if you lock the door, it could stay sealed for months or years. So the answer is that a door is designed to be opened and closed, right? Or a blind or something like that. So there's a difference between doing something which is designed to be done regularly, opening or closing or covering and opening, and something that is something that is yes, so something that is effective, right? Closing a door is effective in sealing a gap, but you can easily open and close it. It's designed to be open and closed. That we don't say is a problem. Function, a function of the door is that it opens and closes. Function of a window is that it opens and closes. A function of a blind is it goes up and down. So there's a difference between, so you might say that's strange. So you're telling me that why is it that I could close the window or I could pull down the blind to cover the window, but I can't nail or stick a piece of board over the window? That's correct, because in the one case, it's a device that's designed to be used and reused many times. In the other case, it's something that's somewhat more permanent, although you might say it's temporary.
What about putting an umbrella up and down? That's meant to.
Right, we're going
That's
to come.
designed to do that.
Yes, we're going to come to that in due course. That's sort of part 3 or 4 out of these. But it may be that umbrellas are not as problematic as people think, actually, because of the temporary nature. Though you might say, well, once they're up, they stay up. Well, they do and they don't. I've given up on umbrellas because they always blow away. Can't stand them. Probably need to buy a really expensive one that doesn't, that has like a double whatever. But most of them just blow away in strong winds.
There's no timeline.
Sorry?
There is no timeline where it's like you lock a room away sometimes for quite a long time, but there's no timeline there because it's a door.
Correct. It's designed for that purpose. So although we sort of call that, I guess it's like it's temporary in the sense that you open and close it regularly. I mean, it's an interesting question around other things. You know, what about things that slot together that you take apart very easily? You know, could you do that? You know, going back to your table, you have a table that has an extension that slots in. You know, some of those tables, I don't know if they still do. You used to have dining tables that you could slot in an extension piece. You know, that might be designed to be done regularly. Would that be less problematic than something that's somewhat more permanent? The answer is probably yes. You know, I'm just looking around the room. I've got a keyboard stand for a music keyboard. So besides the fact you wouldn't play the keyboard on Shabbos, but could you open and close that stand? I would imagine you can, because it's designed for rapid opening and closure. It's not something that requires a lot of effort to put up, whereas a tent, generally, unless it's a pop-up tent, like kids have to play with, a tent requires a certain amount of effort, or a sukkah, or a mishkan to assemble it. It makes a difference. Something that's very easy to assemble and disassemble that you would regularly do. So, for example, I don't know, if you had a game, battleships, I don't know, you have to slot the board together and, you know, probably have to slot the bit down the middle. I don't think anyone's going to say that you're building it by doing that, because it's designed to be taken apart very easily. If, on the other hand, you know, it was very permanent and you had to stick it in place and screw it in, it might be different. So another example of a removable component, which I think we might have talked about, which would also be a similar scenario, the difference between something permanent and something less permanent, is a toilet roll holder or kitchen. We said you're not really supposed to use it on Shabbos. I'm not sure what the scenario would be, but let's say for argument's sake, you could somehow use it on Shabbos. Oh, I gave the example, a roller towel, an old-fashioned roller towel, right? So if the towel holder fell off the wall, I'm not sure that putting it back on would work. That would be a permanent structure, right? Fitting it back onto the screws where it goes. On the other hand, taking out the sort of batten in the middle to put the towel on is designed to be easily removed and replaced. So that's far less problematic. So what is considered building? Something that installs something in a somewhat permanent manner, right? The permanence, again, let's just emphasize, this is a really important point. The permanence depends on the quality of what you're doing rather than your intention. So the fact that you, I don't know, let's say you had I don't know,
Yes.
a gazebo and it takes an hour to put up, right?
It'll go off in...
The fact that you put it up, intending to have it up for Shabbos lunch and then take it down straight afterwards, doesn't make it temporary if its assembly has permanence to it, right? The fact that you say, I plan to take it down this afternoon, yes, but if you didn't take it down, it would stay up for days. And it requires some assembly to put into place. So that makes it permanent, even though you don't intend it to be permanent. So the sukkah is a really good example of that. It was a sukkah is temporary. Eventually it will blow down in most cases, but it's somewhat permanent. The proof is many people's sukkahs last an extra few weeks if you don't take them down. right? On the other hand, we said,
If
you know, when
you
the
if
kids,
you have a gazebo
Hmm.
and you put in the metal structures before Shabbat, but you don't want to put the material bit on,
Canvas on, yeah.
the cover on
right?
until Shabbat, could that be allowed?
I think that's still problematic because one of the things we said is that when you put a shelter across something, that creates a problem.
Yeah.
So I think that would be a good,
Why does it create a problem?
because it's one of the forms of building that took place in the Mishkan was putting the covers over the walls. So when you put your cover on your structure, your gazebo, or you put your schach on your sukkah, or you put your roof on your whatever, then you are basically completing that structure. So, but what would be temporary would be like, so we've got I don't know what you
Even if
call
it's
it.
open walled,
Yeah, I don't think it helps. But we've got our sukkah structure. I don't think what you call it. Not a trellis. What would you call it? I don't know.
yeah, it's a trellis. You've got the trellis.
We've
Yeah.
got our trellis. So let's say we decided it's, you know, it's a really sunny day and we're going to go and sit outside, but it's too sunny and we want something to block out the sun. So can I throw a bed sheet over the top of the sukkah, knowing full well it will probably blow off after half an hour, but at least it will help to keep some of the sun out. So I think the answer to that is that would be temporary. Can I put a sheet on top and weigh it down on the corners or, you know, clip it into place? Definitely not, because that's constructing a shelter.
So if you put a gazebo thing on the top as a temporary and you don't
Well, how
tie it,
temporary would it be though? It's going to clip into place, isn't it?
no, it doesn't clip, you tie.
Really? And it blows off.
Oh, it can if you don't tie it. If
Then
you
that
don't
might,
tie it,
then that might be genuinely temporary. Yes, it might be genuinely temporary. I mean, the
I
classic example we gave is when
I
the
wouldn't
kids
leave
were,
a gazebo top on. I
right.
might leave the structure in for a few
Right.
days, but I wouldn't leave the roof on because it can blow off.
It's a good question. Hopefully, before we finish this chapter, I'll look it up and find out the exact answer to that because I can see how that might be applicable. I do know that with a sukkah, there might be other reasons for it, but we say generally that schach is muktzah if it falls down on Shabbos because you can't put it back up. There's a question, or Yom Tov. So the question is, why can't you put it back up? Is it because of this malacha of building? Is it because your sukkah is supposed to be built before Yom Tov so that you're ready for the festival? I suspect it's because of this malacha. So I'm trying to think of other examples. But in my scenario, I think I definitely couldn't put up some kind of a roof and weigh it down or clip it into place. I think what I could do is just throw a blanket or a sheet over it that would basically fall off, or a mat or something. I mean, the scenario we gave was the kids building a hideout with some chairs, right, and a blanket. No one says that's permanent. On the other hand, if your kids are very, you know, I don't know what the word is, can't think of the word, exacting maybe, and you know, they were to somehow pin it into place in such a way that it would stay up for weeks, then I think you would have a problem. Can't think of other examples off the top of my head. So that's building. Building is putting up a wall or some kind of a roof type structure that involves some solid construction or putting together prefabricated pieces in such a way that it has the potential to be permanent, even if you don't intend it to be. So we said, I don't know, a weak bridge, right? I don't know. If you had a big puddle in the garden, you decided to put a board over it, so that you could walk over it, and the board's going to basically sink or, you know, dislodge. I don't think anyone would say that's permanent, right? For example, just an example. If your sukkah's really badly made, by the way, and is always falling down, then it might not be considered as permanent, ironically. So a short-term structure doesn't help if it's strong enough. That's the crucial point. So people often get mixed up, right? We find this with other things as well, right? With cooking on Shabbos, right? If it's hot enough to cook something, you're not supposed to put food on there. Oh, you're going to say, I'm only putting it there for 10 seconds to take the chill off from the freezer. It's not even going to defrost. Never mind cooking. No, but the fact that it could do, that it has the potential to do it, makes it problematic. The fact that this structure has the potential to remain in place makes it problematic.
Yeah, I'm thinking of a loft hatch.
A what? Sorry?
A loft hatch.
Loft hatch, again, I would imagine would be like a door or window. Whilst it might be quite permanent, it's designed to be open and closed regularly. Now, interesting question. Sorry, I'm thinking one that's on a hinge. What about if you have
Yeah.
a loft where it's not hinged and you have to kind of push it out
Yeah.
to
What
one
we've got, you
side,
have to have a
and then
pole.
you have to slot it back into place when you're done?
Yeah.
So that might be problematic. I'm not sure how different that is from boarding up a window.
Yeah. We've got a skylight that you have to
Right.
put, you have
Right.
to put a wooden, a pole and
Right.
push it out.
Right. Right. You can't, we'll come to it in due course, but you can't build a machitza on Shabbos because it's also building. You're not supposed to put up a wall.
Ah,
So you can move panels to put them together, I think, but you can't hang a curtain to make a wall. That's exactly what they did in the Mishkan. So if you're machitza or, for some other reason you need to hang a curtain for privacy or something, you should do it before Shabbos. Because that's exactly what they did in the Mishkan. So that would definitely be problematic. So I'd say in your sukkah, you suddenly realize there's loads of flies around and you decide to hang a net curtain on one side of the sukkah. I don't think you can do that, by the way. Right. So that's building. Now, we'll come to other examples. That's in general terms. Then we have something else, which is called Mosif ala binyan, which is adding on to an existing building, an accessory to a building. So you have a structure already and you add something to it. So what would be an example of that? Home improvements, basically. So, for example, a rubber suction hook on a wall or on a fridge or on a cupboard. Certainly if you intended it to be for a long time. Now, here's an interesting question. What if it's rubbish and it always falls down? You know it's going to fall down. So, for example, I don't know, got various kids' bath toys and things that I think we've got like a hanging net that you put them in and you stick it on the side of the bath with suction cups. And it usually falls down after an hour or two because it's quite wet. So that would be an interesting one, I think, actually. That could be less problematic, potentially, because it's definitely temporary. But normally, if you put a suction hook on your, in your kitchen to hang a towel or something, you want it to be permanent. Laying tiles, installing paneling in walls. So, I don't know if anyone has paneling nowadays, but in the old days, you don't say, well, the wall's already up. I'm just sticking on the oak paneling or the wallpaper or whatever, right? That would be problematic. Possibly putting up decorations on a wall or in your sukkah. It depends how you fix them. Yes, fixing a curtain to a frame. So the fact the frame's already there doesn't mean you can put the curtain in. So anything that involves adding or installing a permanent accessory to a building is also called bona, as is repairing something.
What about if you've got you're having lunch and you suddenly get extra people and you want to put an extra table
Good
on the end?
question. How are you going to do your extra table?
I'm asking.
So
Normally you would bring it in from wherever it is.
you could definitely bring it in.
One
There's
of
no
those
problem.
Costco's
There's no
tables that
problem.
you have to.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No, there's no problem moving your tables around. The potential problem might be now. What about a folding table, right? Like the ones we have in shul, a trestle table. So I would assume we would say that the very design of them is to be easily assembled and disassembled. So there's an example of something, right? On the one hand, a trestle table can stay up for years. Some people don't even realize they're folding tables, right? You go into a school or something, they've got folding tables up for lunch or something. They never get folded. No one even realizes they're folding tables. On the other hand, they are designed to be easily folded and unfolded. So unless you're I think that if you took a folding table, you think about it, when you unfold a folding table, you've just made a little structure there. There you go, a 3D structure with a roof and two sides. Okay, they might not be solid sides. So I think we would say that unless you're actually putting up that table for the duration, so basically you put up that table with the intention it's going to be up permanently, that might be a problem. But putting it up for your Shabbos meals, the fact that it folds and unfolds easily proves that it's designed for temporary use, right? It's going back to our pop-up tent or something, right? If your table requires assembly, you've got 4 legs that slot in, right? And you've got to screw something in. I think that's going to be more problematic. But the folding tables that clip in and out, yeah, they're sometimes a bit stiff or whatever. But like all the ones we have in Shawl, the round tables and the rectangular tables and the card tables, they're all designed to fold and unfold easily. So I would say that because of that, to unfold one of those and set it up is not a problem. So the slightly more interesting question is if you have a big heavy dining table and you've got to slot in an extra leaf, that might be slightly more problematic because that's a bit more permanent and it's hard work. And it's not something you necessarily do every day. You've got to pull it out and slot it in. But definitely a folding table wouldn't be a problem because they're designed to fold and unfold. Right? Same with a folding chair. We're not going to say a folding chair. Oh, 1 minute it's a vertical thing, and the next minute it's a little kind of 3D canopy thing. No, it's a folding chair that's designed to fold up easily and unfold. Right? Folding chairs can be quite elaborate. I mean, some used to be like some. I'm trying to think that what do they call it? Like they have in schools, they have like in the dining room, they'll have like a table with folding chairs around, with like plastic. I can't think what you call it, like benches.
Yeah, they have the table with the chairs attached.
Yeah,
to
but they're
it.
quite elaborate. But the fact is,
Yeah.
it's designed to fold and unfold. So I don't think that's going to present a problem. The problem is where something is not designed in that way. So going back to your home example, if I have extra guests and I have to unfold, maybe even a folding bed, by the way, folding bed is designed to fold and unfold quite easily. I think where you're going to run into problems is where something is quite challenging to assemble and is therefore permanent. So I gave the example of IKEA bookshelves. The fact that you can take them apart in about half an hour is irrelevant. Once you put them up, they're designed to stay up. Whereas once you fold your folding table up, once you unfold your folding table, although it might be very strong and some people even dance on tables, but apparently I've heard. But once it's still easily collapsible. So I think that makes a huge difference. So the interesting question would be is if you had a really good sukkah that let's say was there's those bikes and things that are quick release where you push a button, or like same might apply to a pushchair actually, by the way. How easy is it to fold and unfold? There might be other issues with that. We're going to come back to that. But if you had a quick release sukkah where you press a button and everything just is spring loaded and pops into place, and you press another button and it collapses like a parasol or something like that. Interesting question whether it be as problematic. The problem's around the fact that you're putting something up in a permanent manner. So it's an interesting question. At the one extreme, you've got something that requires a lot of construction, like building your sukkah. The other extreme, you've got a door window which you close and open all day long, or a folding table which is designed to be folded and unfolded. So these are all good questions. And it will depend on how much effort is involved. At the end of the day, the malacha is building, right? So, I mean, for example, I don't know off the top of my head, we'll have to look it up. But if you've got a wall in your garden and a brick falls off the top, can you put it back on Shabbos? You're not gluing it into place, you're just putting it there so it's safe and it doesn't fall and hit anyone or whatever. No one is under any illusion that it won't need cementing in at some point. So could you do that? Would anyone seriously call that building? Everyone knows to build a wall you have to have cement. So I think we'd probably say you could do that. It's not, no one would be under any illusion. On the other hand, if your fence panel falls over and you have to stick it back into the ground, then very clearly that has a permanence to it. So these are all going to be relevant factors in things. The interesting question is if you have something flimsy that, like if a brick keeps falling off your wall and it shouldn't, or your fence panel's loose and it shouldn't be, then what are you supposed to do? Because you might say, oh, well, the fence panel's really loose. The kids open it and close it all the time as a shortcut. Does that does that make it like a door, right? I think the answer is probably not. The loft door is an interesting question, and I don't know the answer to that. One that's not hinged, that's designed to be open less often, say. It's a good question. We'll have to look into that.
What do you mean a gap through a fence in a garden? You can go from one garden to the other.
Right. So we've got it. Occasionally when we've had to borrow tables from shul for our sukkah or something, Bear used to do it. If you lift the fence, all the panels lift up. They're not fixed. They're just held in place by gravity. So you can actually lift the fence panel, put something in it, jam something in it to hold it open. You can then slide your, tables or chairs or whatever instead of having to carry them all the way around. So something like that, people open and close it all the time, basically. So does that become like a door or not? Many, many, many years ago, our house in Cardiff had a very long, narrow room, and we managed to find a three-piece suite that was just the right size. We measured it, exactly fitted, like no space, literally, with the radiator and the door and no space at all. And we were very proud of ourselves, and it was duly delivered. And it was only once it was delivered we realized what we hadn't factored in was you had to get it through the front door, through the narrow hall into the dining room, and that wasn't so easy. So what do you do in that situation?
Send it back.
Well, if you have a good handyman, you take the window pane out.
Yeah, we've had door frames taken out.
Right. So you take the
Lovely.
window out, and you basically got a big hole to lift it through, and then you put your window back. So unless you
do
would,
that on Choppers, would you?
well, so I was saying that I think you definitely couldn't do. That would be, that has a very permanent element. You can open a window, but I don't think you could remove a window pane. I was really shocked by that. I didn't know you could even do that. Fortunately, I knew how to do it.
A lot of people live in flats. They take out the window and they they haul it up.
Yeah. The other one that always amazes me how people get pianos into places. Sometimes again they do it through the window or fire exits, or you don't even think about it. We're so used to self-assembly stuff generally, you don't really think about it. And also, okay, nowadays doors are wider because of disability regulations, but in the old days doors used to be quite narrow. So even if you've got a beautiful mansion, unless your doors are wide enough, you're not going to get your sofa through it. Yeah.
Not just sofas, it's fridges, freezers.
Yeah. Arcs. When we had, remember the shore was being redecorated and they moved the arc into the hall. That was a whole big performance because it didn't fit through the door. And I know, so the door in Shaw, the doors in the partitions are not wide enough for certain things. So the bimmer, for example, doesn't fit through. If you want to move the bimmer now, you have to do it around the back or through the sukkah. You can't move it through the partition into the kiddish room because it's too
Well, you
wide.
could if you took the partitions back.
Okay, yeah, but you'd have to do that, which is not impossible. But yeah, you don't think about these things. Right. So that's the cliffhanger. Things that involve an addition to a building also problematic. So knocking a nail into walls, sticking attaching a hook to a wall, something like that. We don't say, oh well, the wall's permanent and you're just adding something small to it. That would also be a problem. So by the way, that would probably cover things like putting up paintings, but that's a whole different area. Right, let's just take a 2-minute break. See if anyone
Okay, I've got to go.
Debbie's got to go. Okay.
Sorry, so just you.
Yeah,
Well,
it's just us.
I've got a feeling we might get 1 or 2 more, so we'll give it a minute.
Okay.
I hope so. I have what's that, Mordecai? He sometimes joins us.
Ooh.
He hasn't
Right.
said yes or no. I said at 10 o'clock.
Okay.
Okay, I'll speak to you soon. Well,
See you,
I'll
Debbie.
see you soon.
Okay,
Okay,
Debbie,
have
have
a
a
good
good week.
I'll be
you
back.
as well.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. By the way, Rabbi, we'll go to the shiva tonight for.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, we're going as well.
Oh, lovely. I'll see you there.
Right. I've actually got another one. Michelle Green lost her aunt.
Oh, machine.
Michelle Green, you know Gary and Michelle? You do know Josh and Erica's
Oh,
parents
probably I do. But
on Derby Road.
Yeah.
yes.
The other Gary Green, not the stonemason.
So
Not
who's doing the shiver tonight?
Which one?
Itzkovitz.
Rob is basically. He doesn't really need someone to officiate. I said I
Oh,
would.
Rob's there.
Robert's going to be there. Yeah, I said I would probably go, but he doesn't specifically need someone. He's quite capable.
Okay, fine.
He
Okay.
might ask, if Jeff's there, he might ask Jeff to do something.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, have a good day.
All right,
Yeah.
I'm back.
Okay.
Back in 2 minutes. Just going to put kettle on.
Okay.
Right.
Another coffee.
Okay. Well, I guess it's just us. Okay, that could work. Brenda, thanks for your message, by the way. I'll be in touch with the family today. So I meant to
Making a
reply.
coffee at the moment.
Oh, okay.
You've got it got me.
About the young lady, forgotten the name. Sorry.
I mean, Sandra.
Yes. Do I mean Sandra? Nikki and Brendan. So I'm going to be in touch with. I'll be in touch with them. Yeah. Okay. So, okay. All right. Well, we'll do it and we'll record it and we might get other people. Shall I wait for Brenda as well?
Yeah. Be alone, Brent.
It's all right. I'll go put my kettle on as well then. Didn't actually wait
Okay.
a while. Okay.
No, it's all right. Rabbi's gone to put his kettle on.
Just want to put the kettle on.
Yeah.
Well, you put it on the window ledge. Just do a bit of water in there.
Okay. Everybody here? Brenda back?
No, it's disappeared on. Where she
Oh
got.
dear. Hope she's okay.
Yeah, she's not far away.
Okay, well, I'll wait for her since there's only three of us.
Fred.
Wonder what happened to everyone today.
No idea.
Oh well, never mind.
Where's everybody
I don't
disappeared
know.
to?
All right. Well, we're recording it and we'll share it afterwards. So that's fine. One
Yeah.
second.
Yeah. Iris said she'll look it up afterwards.
Yeah.
If you want to do it, you know, short, you can.
Well, it probably will go short because it's a few hours. Let's see. Okay, just one sec. I guess we'll have to share the reading.
Oh.
Right. Okay. Just one sec. Just doing the live link.
Don't think I can read as well as
Iris.
Iris.
I'm sure you'll do well. There we go. 1 second. Recording. Right. We are recording. Oh,
Let me,
I don't know where my control. Oh, no. How do I do this? Oh, here we go. Sorry, right. Okay, so restart recording.